caramel making. Slow crafted, all natural, and preservative free with uncompromising standards. Cooked gently in small batches to create velvety textures and layers of flavor like no other caramel you've ever experienced. It is our sincere hope that you enjoy each Seuss caramel as much as we enjoy making it for you. I'm Tammy Fahey, and I never tire of hearing how much people enjoy my caramels. Please visit SeussCaramel.com to place your order and to see a listing of stores that carry our amazing caramels.
It's 9:06.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Hermann.
Hello, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Hermann, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate everyday people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, from kindness to healthy habits and simple happiness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today I wonder, how are you handling this intense heat wave? It's definitely a bit hot and humid out there. I know I've been working in my gardens, transplanting, tending, grooming, pruning. I love being in nature. When was the last time you were fully present in nature? On a lake, kayaking, by the ocean, hiking in the mountains, or like me, in your own backyard. Take a moment and imagine your favorite place. What does it smell like? What are the sounds you hear? What do you imagine you might see? And what does it feel like? Is it warm, safe, and comfortable? And why is it so special to you? Breathe into this moment. My friend Brian would say, breathe into your left groin. It's a full body breath. And then exhale like you're blowing out through a straw. Take another nice full body breath. All the way down. Let that left groin feel it. And then gently breathe out slowly like you're breathing out through a straw. And if you're not driving, close your eyes and imagine being there in your safe place. What animals do you notice? Are there birds, squirrels, rabbits, fox, maybe even bears? Are they quietly moving around, or do they call out to another? Do you ever wonder what they're saying? I love listening to the birds in my backyard, and I often wonder what their calls mean. I can now recognize several of them, definitely Mr. Cardinal, and the blue jays, and the chickadee-dee-dees. And the other one that I hear all the time nowadays is the catbird, and their call is not such a happy call. It's kind of screechy. But I can recognize their calls, and I just wonder, what are you saying to each other? Really think about and imagine being there in your sacred space. Your mind is incredible. You can change your state of being just by using the power of your thinking, your mind, your imagination. Whenever you're worried, sad, frustrated, or annoyed with another human, take a moment and escape into your sacred space in nature and really feel like you're there. In the Chronicles of Hope book series, I was asked to write, Mother Nature Gaia plays an important role. The wise ones say, we have forgotten our connection with her, that we need to bring back the ways of native cultures. Gaia actually speaks to us in one of the sessions and says she can heal our planet if we would just let her. We must take heed that the animals are our kin and give them, her, and each other the respect that we all deserve. When we learn to live with kindness, compassion, and care for all living things, we can help bring our world back into balance. Most of us do not realize how interconnected we are with this beautiful world we live in. Gaia gives us much in the way of food, water, air, beauty, and recreation. And just a reminder that Book 2, Chronicles of Hope, The Collective, is to be released next Saturday on 8/8 for a special $1 rate. And I need your help to spread the word. You can even pre-register already today at chroniclesofhope.net for the $1 link. Help me on this mission to bring peace to our planet. Hope for a buck, a friend of mine said. So why not spread the word? Get these messages that you can take into your heart for $1 on 8/8. You're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann at WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. We're here every Sunday morning. And every Sunday I have a different, very special guest. My guest today has a passion for nature and has one of the most compelling survival stories I have ever heard. Her story of the connection with the animals. A certified wellness coach with the International Association of Wellness Professionals, an environmental educator and naturalist. She works both with New Hampshire Audubon and her own private business, Inner Balance Wellness and Coaching. Please help me welcome a powerful force from Mother Nature, Kelly Dwyer. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Lois, for having me. It is really, truly an honor to be in person with you again. I so have enjoyed our work in the past, and to be here really spreading your message about what Mother Nature, Mother Earth, and Gaia are really asking all of us to do.
And nobody knows more about that than you. So tell us a little bit about your background, Kelly.
Sure. So the first thing that comes to mind is I'm a mother of two amazing young women, Laura and Catherine, just to my heart and soul. And that has been really my greatest honor and privilege to be their mom and to continue to be their friend and mom. And I am also an environmental educator and a teacher, certified educator, as well as a certified wellness coach. So my mission is to teach, and I have been called to teach the connection between us as humans and all of the animals and our environment, because there really is no way, I think, that we can be as well and healthy as we'd like without having that connection in place.
Absolutely. And you probably know what the animals are saying to each other, don't you?
I've studied a lot of bird song and animal calls, and it's incredible the way that they do communicate, and studies have shown that they can recognize each other's calls, each other's messages, their behavior. So nature definitely is communicating in a beautiful language, and it really is not that difficult to get out there and just sit and put yourself to be present and mindful, and you will actually hear and be able to notice those messages, that communication between species. It's incredible to realize that we are part of that greater ecosystem.
Absolutely. I sit in my backyard thinking it's going to be quiet, and it is not.
No, it takes about 15 minutes for when we arrive on a scene for the animals, the creatures to sort of settle back into their routine and accept that we are part of it.
Yeah, we have a lot. I live in the woods, which I love, and there are a lot of birds there. So I just sit back and I listen to all the different calls. And I have an interesting situation that's happened. We have long had a pair of mourning doves. And the past several weeks, there's only been one, and she sits out on our bird bath, and she sits there. She just sits, and it's as if we have a mourning dove in mourning. It's very interesting, and she'll just sit there and look at me, and I'll talk to her, and you can tell she's alone. My heart goes out to her. Right. She's lost her mate.
I would imagine that's the case, especially this time of year. There are a lot of our woodland hawks that are feeding their young. So we have the food chain, the food web is in full parade right now of all kinds of activities to feed young.
Yes.
So mourning doves tend to be a favorite meal of the broadwing hawk.
Really?
Yeah.
I can imagine, because they're a big target, number one, and
They are.
and they don't move as fast.
I know.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that explains it. So thank you. So I'll still continue to talk with her, and she'll just sit there and look at me. It's just so neat. So, you educate, you teach, and I know you've told me a little bit about how you help bring excitement to children and the little child in us big people as well by getting us to connect with nature.
I think one of the most exciting things is, as an educator, I work with people of all ages. I work with preschoolers and all the way up to retired adults who are just looking to enrich their skill set, their knowledge, and doing bird walks and nature-based programming with all ages. And it really is amazing to see, especially I think the adults I work with, there is that inner child within them. And when they connect with nature, when they understand a bird song, or they see a bird do something, or even an amphibian, or they can hear the rustle of the trees and they can identify what tree is blowing in the wind, to really see that little inner child within them come out. I had one instance a couple of years ago. I was doing a bird walk, and we had a theme called Birds and Bagels, so that we had a staged area in the woods where we were serving coffee and bagels, almost like a little, let's take a break and have a picnic. And when I mentioned to the group that we were having a snack in the woods, there was one woman who actually jumped up and squealed with excitement, because, and I thought, wow, there's that inner child. You're out in nature, you're on a beautiful trail in the woods, and you're just engaging all of your senses. And what is better in terms of engaging our senses with nature for our health and wellness than something like that?
Absolutely. I know that there are, what are they called? Is it tree bathing? There are walks that you can go and just really absorb into the trees. Can you tell us a little bit?
It's called forest bathing.
Oh, that's
and it. Absolutely. And it's a healing modality that really has its roots in Japan, where people have appreciated for decades, centuries, the benefit of connecting with nature, and particularly with a forest, because of all of the beautiful oxygen that our trees are releasing, as well as the dampness, the coolness, the stillness that forests offer. And it does bring down our blood pressure, bring down our anxiety, our depression, and our stress levels. And it allows us to really connect and have that healing happen at a very deep level, and to be able to silence sort of the, your cell phones, all the demands of the outer world, and connect back to almost that primitive self, our evolutionary self, in terms of really having that connection and all of those health benefits. So forest bathing is something that's very prominent in the Japanese culture. Mm-hmm. They encourage it in their workplaces. They have almost forest bathing breaks as part of your lunch break. So there is a movement here in this country to really embrace the benefit of being out in nature. And nature doesn't have to be rolling up to the White Mountains and spending a weekend in your tent. Mm-hmm. It could actually be, right, I'm looking out at this beautiful downtown Main Street here in Nashua. It could be walking up and down Main Street and having the trees and just taking that moment and connecting. There are beautiful parks that we have around here in this state, so everyone should be able to get outside and connect with some little patch of nature. It doesn't have to, again, be 8,000 acres of a White Mountain forest. It could simply be an urban space where there's some green, trees, a patch of grass.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the connecting with nature? Because I've been on hikes or walks with people, and I've wanted to experience the beauty of nature, and they talked the whole time. And I'm like, you're missing the point. It's wonderful to have the break and talk, but while you're in nature, can you share with us what we should be doing to really connect?
Sure. I think the best thing to do is to practice some mindfulness. And this could be done anytime in your home, in your workplace, or even sitting at a red light. It's really silencing yourself, really taking that deep breath. I love to think of it as a 4-square breath, which my yoga instructor taught me. It's breathing in to the count of 4, holding at the top of that breath to the count of 4, releasing to the count of 4, and holding at the bottom before your next breath. So you can sort of picture a square there. And that's the best way I have found to center yourself, so that you bring your blood pressure down, you bring your heart rate down, you get your focus. And to do that before you engage with nature, to set the intention of really being present, and to pay attention to your senses too. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you smelling?
The smell is amazing,
of course,
too.
right.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things, what are you tasting? I think of those delicious fresh picked strawberries and blueberries that I had for breakfast this morning. So,
Right.
But to engage really with primarily your sense of hearing and sight. And that may mean if you're on a hike with people, you let them just go ahead. I'll be 5-10 minutes. I'll catch up. So you have that opportunity to really center yourself.
Right.
So that you're honing and tuning in to what the messages of nature and that environment that you're in are really sharing with you.
I know that I do enjoy going to the beach, and that's a lovely, listening to the surf and the gulls and the sunshine, and that's wonderful. But I live in this, it's like a nest in the woods. And to me, that is a safe sanctuary. I just love being in the trees. And you mentioned it a minute ago, and I've never really thought about it. But yes, the different trees have different sounds as well. When the wind blows through their leaves, they all have a little bit of a unique, different sound.
They do, depending on whether it's an evergreen, which remains pretty much green all year with their needles. They do shed periodically, or a deciduous tree, which are the ones that we think that leaf out and we lose those leaves in the fall. And a nice test is to sit or stand in a place where there are some different trees. Close your eyes and see if you can identify those sounds. Especially, I know today was quite breezy walking in here, so this might be a fun activity for someone to do this afternoon.
Sure.
Just step outside and see if you can identify the different sounds by closing your eyes and testing your sense of hearing.
Sure.
We do have the benefit. I say to kids, you can't see behind you. As a mother, I would love to have had that skill to have eyes in the back of my head, but we can certainly hear 360 degrees. So really test that out. And if you can pay attention to what's behind you, it's really a nice way, again, to center, to bring all of those stress and anxiety levels that I think a lot of us are finding heightened right now down.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann at WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. And I'm here this morning with Kelly Dwyer, who is a naturalist, an educator, an environmental educator, and just full of amazing stories. And Kelly, do you mind if I share a little bit about a story that I was privileged to hear? Kelly has been through some major health crisis, and I'll let you go into that. And she came to me because as a hypnotist to help her find out how she survived. I want to let her tell part of her story, and then I'm going to interject if she doesn't remember how the animals helped save her. This is one of the most poignant stories in my entire career. So you go first, Kelly. Tell us what happened. Tell us about your major health challenges, and then I'll jump in at one point.
Sure, absolutely. So it was about 10 years ago. I, like many people who have been eventually diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease, I was really quite ill for 2 or 3 years, going from one specialist to another, trying to find out why my vibrant, energetic health and just really incredibly busy life was grinding very quickly to a standstill with these mysterious symptoms. And I was finally diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease, and this was in November of 2010. I had just started on a very intensive round of antibiotics, and I had been on them for about 3 months, and I knew to expect that I was going to feel probably much worse before I eventually felt much better. And it was Sunday, February 13th, that I said to my husband, I can't take it anymore. I would rather anything but chronic Lyme disease. I'm going for a snowshoe walk. We have such a blessed backyard. We have about 2,000 acres of conservation land, and about a quarter of a mile into that woods is an amazing 14-acre beaver pond, which has been my playground as a naturalist. So I set out that afternoon with my snowshoes and just feeling very, very sorry for myself. And I woke up about 7, 8, maybe 10 days later in an ICU bed, having absolutely no idea how I got there. I thought, my first thought was, my gosh, I must have been electrocuted somehow. I have no idea why I thought that. And subsequently, I learned the story. What happened is I fell through the ice, and I was in my neck up to icy cold water, and above me were 2 to 3 feet of snow. So I was in almost a well, and this was near one of the most amazing beaver lodges that I used to watch. And what happened was I was in there, they estimate, for about 2.5 hours, until one of my daughters said to my husband, "Mom should be home." It was getting dark. Finally, my husband realized it's pitch dark. She should be home. He set out with a flashlight and his cell phone. And as he arrived over at the pond, he expected to find me with a broken leg or injured. And he was calling my name, and he could hear this animal-like noise in the distance. And he kept triangulating. And he did call back to the house and told my daughters to call 911. Mom is injured somewhere here. I don't know where she is. And after searching a little bit longer, he found me up to my neck in this about a 6 by 6 foot icy section that I had broken through. So there was an incredible rescue staged by local paramedics and rescue personnel. I was backboarded out to a waiting ambulance, but in the meantime, my heart had stopped. I had gone into cardiac arrest and had no brain activity, no heartbeat. I was brought to the first hospital, where they tried for 2.5 hours with CPR to get my heart to restart, to rewarm me with warm saline that was put into my body. Nothing. And then they sent me over to Catholic Medical Center, which has the bypass machine, which they use for heart bypass surgery, where they're able to take your blood out, rewarm it, reoxygenate it, and then put it back into my body.
Wow.
So when I arrived there, they determined again that I was clinically dead. And they said, well, she's here, we're going to give it a try. So they started the rewarming procedure, oxygenating my blood, found my blood could not be oxygenated because my lungs were filled with pond water and
Oh my goodness.
water. So they had to sort of siphon or evacuate that out. I had the lungs of a drowning victim.
Sure.
And my heart miraculously started to resume beating on its own at 92 degrees.
Wow.
But I was in a coma. I still had no brain activity, and they thought they're going to have to tell my family that this woman we should be looking at probably organ donation sometime during the week. They thought I would definitely succumb to pneumonia, and I did have a DNR, so again, my wishes were that I would not remain in this vegetative state. So,
sure.
Within 5 days, I came out of that coma. I had no brain damage. My brain waves started coming back online, and 12 days after my arrival at this ICU, I actually walked out of the hospital.
You are a walking miracle.
And I still have very little recollection, Lois. My husband, when he said, "Are you ready to hear what happened to you?" This is when they pulled the ventilator out of my lungs after about a week. And when he said, "You fell through the ice," I was still hooked up to monitors, and one of the nurses came racing in, and she said, "What's going on here?" And David said, "I'm telling her what happened." And this, again, caused such a primitive response.
Sure.
But the only damage I sustained was some nerve damage in my hands from trying to really crash my way out of the ice with my forearms.
That is amazing. And you have that knowledge from your husband and from the medical staff.
Yes.
And when Kelly came to me as a hypnotist, she wanted to understand a little bit more about what happened. Now, she has an amazing, amazing connection with Mother Nature. Mother Nature came through in a beautiful way with you as your guide, your spirit, in colorful ribbons, and you just described her so eloquently. And the story and I actually reviewed the story this morning so that I could get it straight. But the beaver said, he pushed you to the top, telling you to take a breath. Take a breath. So the beaver kept pushing you to the top. And the fox called out to your husband. The fox barked to get your husband's attention. Your husband followed fox to where owl flew overhead to mark the spot where you were. Owl call. I'm still crying because I was listening as you were recounting this story. It was so incredible how the animals absolutely saved you, your friends, and the way that you described it is friend beaver pushed me to the top. Friend fox barked called to my husband and friend Owl, all of your friends that you had befriended on all of those walks in the woods, they saved you. That is just the most incredible story I have ever heard.
It's amazing because medical professionals said there is absolutely no medical reason why you survived. You did not completely submerge and drown. You had less than 10 minutes to live when your husband arrived and held you from behind in this inky dark 14-acre pond.
Right.
So the fact that I know in my heart that beaver nudged me to yell out, to have that primitive noise that my husband could, in conjunction with fox, follow to my location, because he never would have found me in the dark. And to know that beaver, this beautiful, magnificent, large beaver that I had watched for so long, in fact, the year before, around that same time, there had been clear black ice, and I was over the pond snowshoeing, and it was about 10 inches of clear black ice, and I happened to be standing on top of one of the channels, and he swam right underneath me, this beautiful, elegant, I called him the Leviathan, and I was just so incredibly honored to be watching him swim under me, and then to think the juxtaposition a year later that I was in his territory now, I was in his home.
Right.
And the fact that that beaver, I know, kept sort of nudging, swimming around me because I had such a connection with that beautiful animal.
Yeah, and he with you.
Yes.
And that's what people don't realize, is that we are so interconnected, and that's the message from Mother Gaia. You need to recognize that these animals are communicating with you. If we could just slow down enough to listen with our heart, not necessarily with our mind, but with our heart, and just really feel like this dove that is every day, she's there calling out to me, sitting. It's interesting, she's sitting on a bird bath looking at herself. It's almost like she's talking to her mate because she's looking at her reflection in the bird bath. But they are amazing, and many of us have domestic animals that we kind of know what they're thinking most of the time. Right. But the wild animals have their own personas and personalities and their connections with us as well. We need to get back to that because, hey, you are a walking miracle story of how animals can save you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing your story. And then you went on to survive through the Lyme and through all of this. You definitely had to do a lot of work to get. It was not like, oh, boom, I'm back. You did a lot of work to get your mind back, to release some of the different emotions you had that were tied in with all this. So you've done a fabulous job of resetting yourself. It was like a reset.
Absolutely, it was. Right on every level, it was a reset, and some of it took a lot longer than other parts of it.
Sure. So what do you do with all this new knowledge, this new reset, this new life? How are you using it? What are you doing to inspire others with your journey?
Sure. I think just the mere fact, like I've shared with you, Lois, the fact that I survived something that only a handful of people around the world have actually survived, it shows that we all have this inner well of resilience and determination deep within us, and all of us can access that. And I really believe that connection with nature, for me personally, has been the catalyst in enabling me to reach deep, find that reserve, and to survive and thrive. And part of my work is to find what creates and sparks joy and passion in people. What is it that really speaks to your heart and your soul? And to nurture that, really feed that and honor it. Be your authentic self. This is not a dress rehearsal. We've heard that quote many times.
Sure.
Life, I guess maybe I did have a dress rehearsal until I was 46 and then the real act came. But we have limited time here on Earth, and there is no such place. I speak a lot about this. The someday I'll. I had to subscribe to that for the longest time. Someday I'll get to that. Well, someday I'll do this. Well, someday I'll is not really a destination. It's the journey, and it's what we do day in and day out. And that, I learned that message because I was given another opportunity to spend time here on this earth and really seek what I am meant to do here. And I really believe my work is to connect people with nature, with their community, with their environment, because it has such incredible health benefits that I personally have experienced, and I've seen other people thrive when they do have that connection.
Absolutely. And you teach experientially, and you also do classroom style of teaching. How can people find you? What is there a website, or how would you encourage them to find you?
Sure, they could check out my coaching website is innerbalancewellnesscoaching.com. I just launched that this year, right as the pandemic seemed to roll into this country. So timing is everything, but right now I'm really working as an environmental educator with New Hampshire Audubon. So I'm doing programs within schools, within our community, to try to make those connections, especially our school kids that I think right now it's been extremely challenging for teachers, parents, to be providing education to their kids through screens, through virtual programming. This has been a big challenge for a lot of people, and so I am there to provide services, to provide help and assistance to how do you actually de-stress, get outside, sort of, even if you're looking at a potted plant in your home, how can you make that connection to really be mindful, silence the inner chaos, the outer chaos, so that you can create a state of health and wellness for yourself.
Absolutely. And even on TV, one of my favorite channels is it's on PBS, but there's the Nature channel, a nature show, and one of my favorite is the bots, the nature bots. That just is amazing how they've created. These people have used their technology to create these animals, the spy bots, I think they're called, that are out of nature, and there is a turtle that is watching. There's a chimpanzee. They've created these amazing creatures that you can really be there with nature. And to me, I'm fascinated by the technology, the people who invented them, and the passion for the people who are out there monitoring them, putting them out there, and then the information that's brought back about our the wild nature that we wouldn't have an opportunity to know about. But those sorts of things are inspiring to me. See, we don't have to watch the murder stuff on TV.
No. In fact, we shouldn't be.
No, exactly. There are so many wonderful, wonderful shows out there, and that's one of my favorites. My husband he even comes in and watches it with me because it's fun and it's fascinating. It's that tie-in between the human mind creating the technology. There was a show on recently that showed how these were constructed, and that it's all remote control, and these people who have put their lives' passion into making these spy creatures, and anyway, just getting out there, finding ways to connect with nature, because that can keep our heart rate happy and our blood pressure calm, and just enjoy the beauty that's out there.
And I think, again, I can't emphasize enough that when people think of nature, oftentimes the default thinking is a mountain or something that's in the distance that is not accessible. And I think in order for us to be especially for kids to be able to be receptive to education, teachers to feel that they're calm to educate in this chaos, parents as well, is we all have nature right outside our windows, whether it's that little patch of grass, that one tree, and birds are always around, 12 months of the year flying. So there's always the opportunity to just get outside, sit on your front step, close your eyes and listen. It doesn't have to be a weekend, like I said before, a camping trip.
And even yesterday, as we were transplanting some shrubs, my husband stops and says, "Look what I found." And he had a little inchworm crawling on his finger, and it's just fascinating to watch how it moves.
Yes.
Just getting into that childlike wonder and awe of all of things nature, and how they survive, how they live. And and then it adds to our being connected and interconnected.
Absolutely.
So what would you suggest to others to stay upbeat and inspired? Getting out of nature for sure. Do you have other specific suggestions that you'd like to share?
I think for me, personally, what has worked are gratitude journals. Every morning I start a journal, and I have just scads of journals that I had started. I'd get into maybe the second, third week in January, and then they remain blank. So find something that works for you, and to really center yourself morning and night. So my morning journal talks about, I pick one word. This morning, for example, my word was manifest. How can I manifest my healthiest me, my purpose here? And I wrote just a couple paragraphs about that. In the evening, I do a gratitude journal before I get into bed and call it a day. And I write down 5 things I'm grateful for. And it really helps me reflect over the course of the day, what are those little things, and usually they're small things, that come and put a smile on my face. Write about it. Some people may want to sketch. Some people may want to sing about what speaks to their heart. So find something that works for you, but I would suggest doing something to anchor the beginning and end of your day.
Exactly.
And that can be for kids, it can be for adults. Anybody can do this.
I know one of the things that I learned to do was to say thank you to the universe for the best thing that happened.
Yes.
And you have to go through all of those little
Right.
I call them God winks, those little those little fun things for the day that happened to find the best one. And then your mind, just by doing that gratitude, your mind relaxes and you sleep better.
Yes, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
I have found that helps, and I've done a lot of work with limbic system, our primitive protection system, that the fight or flight, we all know about
Yes.
that, and to really be honing in on that system, that we're not inadvertently giving that system subconscious messages of fear and dread and panic, because it's so easy right now to fall into that. So it takes a little bit of extra time and work to consciously have a different thought pattern, and gratitude journaling and singing or whatever speaks to your heart is one way to combat that pervasive fear that I think we're all experiencing now.
And the thing about having a gratitude journal is on those days when you're feeling a little down, you can always pull it out and review it and look at it. And one of the tips that I give people about journaling is that, like you, if you've got a journal and you've got the date and, oh my gosh, now I skipped 2 weeks, I'll never get back to it, you can start with like a loose leaf binder.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to keep yourself accountable to every day.
Right.
Just when it feels right, you can write. It's nice to do it every day, but if you skip a week or two, oh well, just get back at it and just capture your thoughts.
That's
And
right.
that's the joy. Yeah. So you actually, I just wanted to share with our listeners that you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann. We're here every Sunday morning at WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, and also on my YouTube channel. And you can get there by going to bit.ly, bit.ly/ Lois Hermann YouTube, or you can just go to loishermann.com and click on it right there. It's just a little complicated to get there otherwise. But we have all of these shows. Every show that I've ever hosted is on the YouTube channel, plus more. So please, when you go there, subscribe. We're wanting to get a bigger following. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel and share it with your friends. So this Sunday, today, we are here with Kelly Dwyer, an inspiration, a very inspiring woman, a woman of nature, a survivor, with an incredible survival story. And if you're just now tuning in, you really, really need to re-listen because she has a world famous. You are an amazing survivor. So thank you for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
And you actually did have an opportunity to read and review Book 2, Chronicles of Hope, The Collective. Would you mind to share how you connected with it, what your thoughts were on it?
Absolutely. So again, being an environmentalist, being a naturalist, and just really having a connection with Mother Earth, Mother Nature, I was just so incredibly moved by the messages from Mother Nature, Mother Earth, Gaia, that came through Lois in terms of making those connections, but really working together to help heal Mother Nature, to help heal our earth. This is our home. There's no other place for us. And to be thinking about those messages of Indigenous people and how we lived in concert with nature, how we lived together with nature rather than seeing nature as an adversary, something that needed to be conquered, exploited, to get back to that coexistence that we all thrive, especially Gaia thrives when we thrive.
Yes, and just some of the practices that the Native American or Native Indigenous cultures around the world use. From what I understand, it was the Native Americans that taught the settlers about their 3 sisters, the corn, the beans, and the the squash.
Squash.
And so what fascinated me, I heard this story about in Manchester, there's the Amoskeag Falls, and that the people would gather there in the spring when the salmon were running, and they would have these big feasts, and then they would bury the bones in a big pile, and that the bones they would actually burn the bones, so the charcoal bones added to the fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
They would plant the seeds of the three sisters, and so the corn would grow tall, the beans would grow up the corn, and the huge big squash leaves would act as protection.
Mm-hmm.
So they would leave for the summer and come back in the fall, and there would be the harvest. And it was just they knew how to live with nature, and we need to get back to understanding how we can live with nature, adopting some of these ways that have been set aside, and getting back with how we need to connect with nature in natural ways.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that speaks to being mindful, to being gratitude, being grateful for things that we have, our community, our connections, and that we cannot extract ourselves from nature. We are nature. We are part of this greater ecosystem. And when we think about we want our homes to be clean, we want our environment to be clean in a healthy way, we all benefit. Because you can't, I think of nature and our part as a big, beautiful tapestry. If we pull one thread out, then we lose the greater picture and we lose the integrity of that beautiful piece. So we are inextricably linked to our community, our nature, Mother Nature. And I love the messages, Lois, that came through in the Chronicles of Hope Book 2, the collective, in terms of ways that we can take action, to be positive, to cooperate, work with each other, to be gentle, to be grateful, and to really help heal ourselves and heal Earth.
And you had said we are visitors here. We're
We
guests.
certainly are. We are.
We're only here temporary, and we must leave this world a better place for our children and our grandchildren.
Yes, and now is the time to do that. We've heard a lot of that sort of messaging that has not had necessarily the action to follow it, but it really is the time. And I think this pandemic has shown a lot of us that it is all about those connections that has gotten us through or gotten us to this point in this pandemic, managing it. And to really take that to the next level and think of ways that we can connect using nature. There's been so many studies that have shown, again, the benefit, like we expressed earlier in the program. So take that time now, people, to get out there and to connect with people, connect with Mother Earth together.
May I read the review that you shared with us?
Absolutely, please do.
That was so wonderful. She said, inspiration and action. The significance of these two powerful words is beautifully threaded throughout Chronicles of Hope, the collective. During this time of global pandemic, Lois Hermann's latest book provides the thirsty reader with a greater understanding of how we as individuals can positively affect change for ourselves and our collective humanity. Inspiring actions such as connecting with nature bring incredible healing, peace, and growth for us now, and give the gift of gratitude and appreciation to future generations. Oh my goodness, you said it all in a nutshell right there. Beautifully said. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the work that you're doing, Lois. It is so incredibly important right now to have your voice out there.
Thank you. I'm on a mission to spread their word, so please help us to get this message out there. You can go to the chroniclesofhope.net website and sign up right now. Do we still have 10 minutes? Oh, goodness. I was looking at the clock thinking we only had 2 minutes left. I was so engrossed in the conversation, which is awesome. So this is Lois Hermann with Inspiring Hope, and I'm here with Kelly Dwyer, who is an environmental educator and someone who truly appreciates nature from a deep perspective, and getting people to get out there and connect in small ways, in big ways, doing what you're called to do, because each of us we're here on a mission. It may be something small, such as, or big, but we each are here for a reason. And Kelly, you were saved. They like sent you back. I had my own simple near-death experience where they wouldn't take me. No, you have to go back. You haven't completed your mission yet. Yes, ma'am. So I am on a mission to bring these words. They're not my words. I have my words filtered through them, but these are messages that are meant to help save humanity and our precious planet, because they're saying we may not have much time left. And Mother Gaia, with her hurricanes and with everything, she's not happy. So she's cleaning house. And so if you are called to do something, be it if you're called to clean the oceans, if you're called to create sustainable energy, whatever you're called to do in your heart, do it. Find a way to do it. And what we need to do is support each other, because each of us is here for a reason, and when we're here, when that reason is connected with that higher calling, then we are here to support one another, and we can make this world into the paradise it was intended to be.
Absolutely.
So tell us more about your favorite thing to get people to do. What I know that you're inspired by Mother Nature herself. What else would you encourage people? I know that you take people out on nature walks, and are you still doing that?
I am doing that. And I think one of my favorite things is to empower people.
Okay.
And I think my favorite thing is to empower children to be a voice, to be the educator. When I do programs with kids, I let them know that you are the teacher also. I'm not the only teacher. I am teaching you to be a teacher.
Nice.
And I give them homework to go home tonight, share with your family, your friends, what you learned, the things that excited you. Because to me, there's nothing more powerful than a child's voice in terms of explaining something or trying to make a difference. We listen to children. And so that is my favorite thing to do, is to work with kids and to empower them to have a voice.
I love
and to share
that.
their enthusiasm.
Yes, because they have the enthusiasm, and they will share from their heart without any bias.
Exactly. They're not a threat, and they're engaging. So
Yes.
So listen to the children in your life, listen to the children in your communities and your family. They have wonderful messages to share.
Yes, and they have sometimes better powers of observation because they are in the moment.
Yes.
Many of us are ruminating over the woulda, shoulda, couldas.
Right.
And a child is more in the moment, so they are actually able to hear the rustle of the trees, and they're able to hear that call of the fox, far away. And what is that? And the parent says, what? Right? Because the child is in the moment and can hear.
Absolutely. They're our best teachers.
Yes, they are. And we need to get them out into nature and be fearless. I know that in New Hampshire there's a lot of fear surrounding Lyme disease, but realize that there are nowadays, you can go to New Hampshire Health and Wellness Center and check in about, with the magnet people. I call them my magnet friends, and they can tell immediately if the bite transferred any disease, and they can treat you with a few magnets right away. You don't even have to go through the antibiotics. So be fearless. If you get a tick, just call them. They'll take care of it for you.
Right.
They're out there. They're creatures too, and it's about connecting. Even I've also heard about this grounding, getting out and walking in the grass in your bare feet,
Yes.
where you really ground with nature, because we're around technology all day. We're around the computer, emitting EMF and all that electronic radio frequency waves, all that stuff. It's important, one of the ways to release that energy from our physical beings, because we are energetic bodies, is to go out and walk in your bare feet
Yes.
in nature, right?
Absolutely. I love to find a nice patch of dried pine needles. And when the sun is shining on that fragrance, it reminds me of winter and the holiday season. And to stand there and feel the warmth and the sort of the dry texture of those pine needles on the soles of your feet. Take a deep breath and just picture any stress leaving your body, going down through your feet, and Mother Earth is absorbing that for you. So there's just a quick little mindful thing that you can do.
Absolutely. And now people laugh at me, but my husband's sister every year sends us these glorious cedar wreaths that they never seem to die. So I will have it up all year. The one that I have is on the door that goes right by my entranceway. So every time I walk by it, I still smell this waft of cedar, which to me is just, it smells of nature. And I don't care that it's, to me, Christmas lasts all year. Keep the spirit of hope and joy and peace alive. But I love those wreaths, and I can smell them and I can appreciate their beauty. And people say, why do you still have a Christmas wreath up? I'm like, because who's to say it has to be a Christmas wreath? It's an all-year wreath to me.
No, absolutely. The smells of Mother Nature are probably the best way to sort of quickly engage, is to close your eyes and breathe in. All of us, especially here in New Hampshire, we have those beautiful four seasons that we can engage our senses in every season.
Right.
And they trigger beautiful, happy memories if we can sort of be tapped in and mindful of thinking of the holidays. I love to think about warming spices of fall. Sometimes I'll just take a nice sniff of some peppermint essential oil or even cinnamon essential oil, and that just feels warm and cozy of fall coming.
Absolutely. And it is wonderful. We were talking earlier about the different seasons, and right now we're definitely in a heat wave with a lot of the heat and the humidity, but it doesn't really last that long. So we just enjoy it, and then soon we'll have the weather where we can open our windows at night and let the fresh night air in. And I love listening to the night birds and that, waking up to the sound of the birds in the morning. And my other fun thing that I want to mention is I'm passionate about my roadies. My husband calls them roadiometers. So we can tell in the winter what the temperature is outside.
Yes.
Well, you look outside of the roadie and, it looks like a point. Okay, it's below 30 degrees. That means, it's cold. And if it's just a little bit, well, maybe it's 40 something. So yeah, the plants tell us.
They sure do.
What the temperature is, so they know how to conserve and how to expand. And yeah, if we just pay attention, we can learn so much from our beautiful Mother Nature. Gaia, those of you who don't realize that, we were told, and many people know this already, but our planet, we call it Earth. The universal energy called it Terra. That's the name that he gave. This is the planet Terra, and we are Terrans. I thought that was very different and interesting. But Gaia is the spirit of our Earth. She is the spirit. She is Mother Nature, the energy that brings life. And so we are all part of her children. We are her children, and she feeds us and cares for us and entertains us and, throws wind at us when we're, we need to be more mindful. So if we're mindful and towards her, towards each other, I think that we have the ability to make this world a better place.
Yes, we do.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Kelly, we again tell people how they can get a hold of you. Kelly Dwyer.
Sure. You can check me out at innerbalancewellnesscoaching.com and send me a message. I would love to hear from you, get in touch with you, and see how I can help and support you.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lois.
Thank you for sharing our journey. And please go to chroniclesofhope.net and sign up for your 8/8 Save the Date $1 rate for a special. This is a very important book. And what else can you get for $1 these days? Please please share the message. Meanwhile, I'll see you next week with another very special guest. And we're going to be continuing to get the message out there. For those of you who do Facebook, we actually have the Chronicles of Hope, the Messages Facebook page, where I'm posting regular messages from these wise ones that came through in this Chronicles book. So meanwhile, until next week, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. Have a fabulous week. Take good care.